Hey guys, and welcome back to another great game of CEDH. Today we are featuring some new commanders from Dominaria. Although I can't believe we're already getting spoilers for the new Warhammer precons and Infinity. But there are so many new cards to check out, I can't wait to see them. Also, if you want to support the channel, come check out our Patreon, as it's the best way to support the channel and help us produce the content you enjoy. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and we'll love to talk MTG or whatever strikes our fancy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. First up is English on Vohar, Vidilian Desecrator. This is a deck that utilizes Vohar as both a value engine and a win condition. This deck has several winning lines from Isochron Scepter to Thrasios. Vohar also excels at cracking Doomsday piles. This commander takes a strategy that's quite familiar and really hones it to the most compact, low-to-the-ground form we've ever had. Next up is EDH Senpai on Tasigur. This is a combo control list whose goal is to use Tasigur as a cheap creature to Eldritch Evolution away for either a Toxrill or a Hullbreak Horror. It has a lot of fast mana to help you accelerate out of value engines such as Sylvan Library or Rhystic Study. Then a long suite of counterspells and removal controls the board. In the third spot, we have Hidden Planet X on Jenson Carthelion and his companion Lurrus. Dominaria has brought a unique 5-color creature that now lets you use Lurrus as a companion. And for those players that remember Lurrus' stranglehold on the 60-card formats, this cat is a value engine that just grinds advantage. And the best part, both Thassus and Underworld Breach are both 2 mana. This is another Turbo Nas list that has built-in card advantage and can definitely pull its own weight. And bringing up the rear, we have Ken playing Tymna Kamahl. This is a win conditionless rule of law / hate bear deck that aims to choke his opponents out of resources and win through a lot of combat damage. And oh man, can Kamahl really pump out a lot of damage. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. English mulls to 6, and we have a pre-game with Ken putting a gemstone cavern into play, exiling an overgrown tomb. English then starts the game with a misty rainforest. He cracks it, taking 1 to find an underground sea, but shortcuts and also casts an Imperial Seal.
I think it's pretty good.
Not if you knew what I was getting with Imperial Seal.
Well, I mean, I could know what you're getting if.
I'm betting it's a land.
I'm
getting a land.
I thought it would be a crypt.
Yeah, I was expecting like a mana crypt.
Yeah, I think like a crypt or a soul ring or something.
My commander is 2 different distinct colors. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would have gotten mana crypts.
That is racist, and Hidden doesn't appreciate that. Oh, I got exiled. What the fuck?
Oh no.
What the fuck, guys?
I don't know, maybe it's got a language gate. When you said racist, it just automatically
It
kicked you.
probably did. It's all about it, dude. It is wizards.
Senpai plays a non-tutored Morphic Pool and casts a Soul Ring. Hidden starts by taking 1 from a City of Brass or a Carpet of Flowers. He doesn't have another 1-drop and passes. Ken plays a Scrubland and starts unloading with an Esper Sentinel and a Llanowar Elf. English has a quick turn, just playing his Morphic Pool as land and casting his commander, Vohar, Vidilian Desecrator.
That seems sad.
You gonna play an island?
I'm gonna play a Polluted Delta.
Not an island yet.
I like the crack.
I don't have a response, no.
No.
Cool.
I mean, luckily there's already 1 island out, so you can still get it.
I know, that's why I'm like, okay, I kind of...
You get a freebie.
Fine.
Little tough for me though, sitting in the no artifact acceleration to not play lands if I draw them though.
I'll take a Bayou.
He grabs a Bayou and then for 2 black casts a Dothy Voidwalker, to which Hidden's Lurrus cries. Hidden adds a black from his carpet and then plays a mana Confluence. He sure does love his pain lands, as he uses the Confluence to cast a Valky. The table then reveal their hands, and to his misfortune, he actually whiffs. And after just casting a random 2/1, Hidden is done after that. Ken plays a Command Tower as land and casts his commander Tymna. He then heads to combat and sends the Sentinel at Senpai, who takes the hit, and on his second main, Ken pays 1 to draw off Tymna, and casts an Elves of Deep Shadows. English spends 2 more mana on a Talisman of Dominance and passes. Senpai really doesn't want to feed the carpet and plays a Cephalid Coliseum. He then casts a Phantasmal Image, which resolves and he turns into a Tymna.
I would like to copy Tymna.
Not Valky?
I'll take Tymna.
Okay. I guess.
I'd
You're
like-
an unblockable creature.
It's not unblockable, it just has shadow.
It's
You
on
can
the
play
current
Shadow
build state,
card.
it is unblockable. You are correct. I might have Shadow Rift in my hand.
Or the wall that blocks only shadow creatures.
Senpai then sends his Dothy at English, who can't block, and Senpai ends his turn drawing off Tymna. Hidden adds a blue off his carpet, and plays and cracks a Bloodstained Mire for an Underground Sea, and casts his own Phantasmal Image. He also gets a Tymna.
Why do I feel like playing Tymna is like the worst thing ever now?
No, it's great for you, because you're going to get so much card draw next.
Hidden then sends Valky at English, who doesn't block, and Hidden gets to draw off Tymna. He then ends his turn with a Hermit Druid, as he wants the body. Ken plays an Undergrowth Stadium and then heads to combat. He sends his Tymna at English, but decides to hold back his other creatures. He draws off Tymna and then casts an Ishai, to which English activates his commander to loot. He discards a Dispel and drains the table for 1. The Dispel is exiled to the Dothy zone, and the Ishai resolves. English draws and manages to find a Flood Strand off the top. He doesn't want to give another island to Hidden, and passes, with Senpai casting a Limdul's Vote at his end step. He does give a card to Ken off the Sentinel, but the vault resolves, and Senpai goes digging. He ends with his life total at 32. Senpai untaps and heads to combat. He sends Dothy at Hidden and Tymna at English. This time drawing 2 off Tymna, and playing a Hinterland Harbor as land. He casts a Mana Vault and gives a card to Ken, and then casts a Culling Ritual. Hidden is very sad, with English responding by floating a blue and looting with his commander. He then discards to solve the equation to drain the table, and the Culling Ritual resolves. One positive was the clone Tymnas both survive, and Ishai actually turns Ken's board into lands, so he's actually fully protected. Senpai then gains 4 green and 4 black. He then casts his Tasigur, delving away a few cards, and follows it up with a Neoform. He sacks his Tymna, and English ends up using his floating blue on a Swan Song to counter the Neoform. Senpai then gets his bird, and he follows that up with an Eldritch Evolution, sacrificing his Tasigur. Both Hidden and Ken have no responses, but English offers Senpai an offer he just can't refuse, and the evolution is countered, with Senpai gaining 2 treasures from the deal. Still with floating mana and the help of Delve, Senpai then recasts his Tasigur. Hidden starts with combat. He sends Tymna at English and draws on his second main. But he's not in a good place, and he takes 2 to cast Jenson.
Oh boy, that's not good.
Hidden then passes, and at his end step, English cracks his fetch for an untapped Watery Grave. Ken also starts with combat.
Let's see. I know the easy attack.
Yeah, anything at me. On the plus side, it means I'm probably only taking 1 from an elf.
Or 27 from Ashaya.
I mean, sure, yes. Just remember, he only needs 26.
Yep, there you go.
Ken sends his Esper Sentinel at English, with Tymna heading at Hidden, and Ishai going at Senpai. Senpai blocks with his bird, and both Hidden and English take the hit. Ken draws 2 and plays a Snow-Covered Plains. Now with the Dothy gone, Ken plays a Rest in Peace to keep the graveyard empty, and ends his turn with an Elvish Mystic, and during his end step, English class Limdul's Vault. He gives a card to Ken and starts digging. English ends up taking 6 from the vault. English goes to his turn, but doesn't even bother untapping as he slams a Time Twister down, with Ken responding by flashing an Aven Mind Sensor, to which English forces it, exiling a Fierce Guardianship, since he's getting a new hand anyways. Everyone then shuffles up and draws a fresh set of 7. English then plays and cracks a Polluted Delta for a snow-covered island. He knows he's dead from a Ishai and brainstorms. He then ends his turn with a Chrome Mox, imprinting a Notion Thief. Senpai plays and cracks a Wooded Foothills, paying a life to go grab a Zagoth Triome, and he then casts the Mystic Remora. He pays for the Esper Sentinel and is done after that. Hidden has a Bayou as land and heads the combat. He sends Tymna, Ken, and Jenson heads at English. Both players take the hit, and Hidden pays 2 to draw 2 off Tymna. He was going to then cast the Mox Amber, but seeing the Esper Sentinel and Mystic Remora, decides he doesn't need it, and instead takes 2 to cast Thassa's Oracle. The Oracle resolves, and responding to the trigger, Hidden casts a Tainted Pact. He can't pay for the Sentinel or the fish, and English then responds with a Flusterstorm to stop Hidden. He gives another card to Ken and Senpai, and Hidden now actually regrets not paying the Mox, as he had a culling ritual in hand that would have let him pay for the Fluster. But instead, his pact is countered, and the Thassa's trigger then resolves. Hidden doesn't like anything in the top 2, and decides to not pick either card. Hidden then ends his turn casting a Mox Amber, giving a card to Senpai. And at his end step, Senpai beats within a Shy, giving a card to Ken. Ken then untaps and casts a Soul Ring. He gives a card to Senpai and then decides to give him another as he casts a Lotus Petal. He then starts tapping mana to cast his commander, Kamahl. Senpai then starts counting, but with his 30 life total, he doesn't have any responses.
Attempt to go to combat.
Sweet.
Yeah, nothing for me. I will purely point out that Senpai has approximately 12 or 13 cards in their hand right now.
Lies and slander. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is 10 magical cards.
I apologize for giving you 2 to 3 additional cards by
There you
accident.
go.
Ken then heads to combat and triggers Kamahl. He grows his team, and he sends his Elves of Deep Shadows and Esper Sentinel at English, while the Elvish Mystic and Tymna head at Hidden. The Beast token then heads back at Senpai. Everyone takes the hit, and Ken then draws 3 on his second main. He doesn't have anything else, and then heads the discards. Unfortunately, English knows what's on top, as he cracks a Marsh Flats to grab a Swamp, and recasts his commander. Senpai untaps and pays for fish. He casts a Mana Vault, and cracks his treasure. He then tries an Adnaz, but English is still in the mentality of counter everything, and tries to mana drain the Adnaz, with Senpai responding with a Pact of Negation to foil his plot. But for once, Hidden actually has a response, as he casts a Deflecting Swat to turn the Pact on the Adnaz. Both players can't pay for fish, and Senpai really wants that Adnaz as he Flusterstorms.
I will also be nice and point out that we've all cast a spell and Esper Sentinels on the table.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
I mean, honestly, like the problem I have is you can go ahead, Ken. I don't care if you draw.
So
I can
Queen,
survive next turn. So I think I have to go all in on this plan.
The Adnaz then starts resolving, and Senpai starts losing life. And it's not going great, as he reveals a Hullbreaker Horror. He keeps going and drops all the way down to 2. And this is where Senpai debates whether or not he should try one more time. But ultimately he decides to stop there, dropping to 2. He then casts a Mox Amber, and unfortunately has to pay a Yavimaya Coast as land. He drops to 1 to tap the coast for a blue for a Brainstorm. He draws 3 and definitely would have died if he had kept going with his Adnaz. He puts 2 back and passes. He has a bunch to discard, with Hidden casting a Worldly Tutor at his end step to go and put a Gilded Drake on top of his library. Hidden untaps and casts his tutored Gilded Drake. He swaps control with Kamahl and heads to combat. Kamahl then buffs his team, and he sends Jenson and Tymna at Ken, with the Thassas heading at English. Both players take the hit, with Hidden then paying 2 life to draw 2 off Tymna. A Gemstone Cavern then comes out as land, and he casts an Ignoble Hierarch, finally ending his turn grabbing Lurrus to hand. Ken starts off with combat. He sends the Gilded Drake at Senpai, with 3 Mana Dorks heading at English. But before damage, Senpai abrupt decays the Drake, and survives, while English is unfortunately taken out of the game. I do think that attack was probably incorrect, and it should have been switched, with the 3 Mana Dorks going at Senpai. But on Ken's second main, he does pay 1 to draw off Tymna, and cast a Paladin class. He doesn't pay for fish, and Ken then plays a Mana Conflux as land, and ends his turn with an Eidolon of Rhetoric, discarding due to hand size. Senpai goes to his turn and lets his fish die. He then rolls for Crypt. He's safe from his Crypt and plays a Boseiju as land. He has enough mana to cast the Hullbreaker Horror, which resolves, and he's so happy about it, he immediately tries and casts a Lotus Petal, only to realize he's misplayed. As he reveals, he could have killed everyone if he had just killed the Eidolon first and gone off after that. Hidden untaps and plays a Verdant Catacombs as land. He wants to move to combat, but still in his main phase, Ken has an Assassin's Trophy for his Kamahl. Hidden unfortunately doesn't have a response and the Kamahl dies. Hidden unfortunately doesn't have any basics either, and then has to move to his second main and cast Lurrus. That's his one spell for turn, and he ends his turn cracking his fetch for Taiga. Ken draws for turn and levels up his Paladin class. He then heads to combat and sends his 3 mana dork to Senpai. Well, Senpai does want to live and casts a Reality Shift, targeting the Elvish Mystic. This also triggers the Horror to try and bounce the Eidolon as well, to which Ken responds with a Veil of Summer. He gets his protection from blue, draws, and manages to foil Senpai's plot, as he can only block the 2 dorks and die. Ken still does get a draw off Tymna, but his Eidolon stops him from casting anything else, and he passes, with hidden at his end step Intuitioning. He can't pay for the Sentinel and goes and searches out cards. Unfortunately, though, he's not in the best spot, and it's not really sure what to grab. He ends up settling on a Vamp Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and an Otawaru, with Ken giving him the Vamp Tutor. Hidden untaps, and before he draws, channels a Boseiju to try and destroy the Eidolon. Ken does have a response, as he abrupt decays the Ignoble Hierarch, to hopefully put Hidden off mana, to which Hidden just taps his dork and vamps. He can't pay the 2 for the Sentinel, and Ken draws, as Hidden searches out a card to put on top. The Eidolon is then destroyed, and Ken grabs an untapped Bayou, and on Hidden's main phase, he casts a Chain of Vapor to bounce the rest in peace. Ken does choose to copy the chain by sacrificing his Undergrowth Stadium to bounce the clone Tymna, although it is sacked due to it being a phantasmal image. But now that the rest in peace is gone, Lurrus can finally let Hidden actually do something, as Hidden then recasts the image from his graveyard, to which Ken responds with a Hushwing Gryph, and while it doesn't stop the clone, it does stop Hidden, who is trying to backdoor another Thassa's Oracle. So instead, the clone enters as a copy of Tymna, and man did Hidden think he had it, but now it's the pass. Ken starts by leveling his Paladin class to 3, and he then eagerly heads to combat. He sends his Hushwing Gryph and Beast to hit Hidden. He gives his Gryph an additional +1/+1 and double strike from the Paladin class. Hidden needs to chump the Beast with Tymna, and still ends up dropping to 8. Ken then draws off Tymna and plays a Forest as land, before putting the nails back in Hidden's casket, as he recasts his Rest in Peace, and ends his turn with an Occam Adversary. Now here's where I'll save the viewers a little time in their day, as Hidden then casts a Demonic Consultation to try and find a way out of this mess. His first thought was a Bring to Light for an Angel and a Culling Ritual, and while he does go down that route, unfortunately that destroys and exiles his Thassa's Oracle, which was really his only way of winning left, as the Demonic ends up exiling his Underworld Breach. And while there were a few more turns after this, it was just kind of sad, as Hidden was just kind of getting beat down with his creatures from Ken. But this did give Ken the victory, so congrats to Combat actually getting a win in CDH. And before I get into the game review, I want to thank our Patreon subscribers. Game review. Well, damn, creatures took this game. It is nice to see that not every win is through a combo, although I did think it was impressive how both Jenson and Tasigur had their attempts. Unfortunately for Jenson, with the Dothy Voidwalker out for most of the game, it hurt him quite a bit, as he built around Lurrus for recursion and card advantage. Although man did Hidden think he had it, as he Thassa it for a second time. Unfortunately for him, his Boseiju actually gave Ken the 3rd mana needed for his Hushwing, and when he demonicked for an answer, he basically exiled all of his win cons. As for Tasigur, Senpai did admit he misplayed on his turn, and he would have had the win had he just used the removal on the Eidolon first. Although to be fair, I do think Ken could have taken him out the turn before, with different attacks. And for English, unfortunately he was also hurt by the Dothy, and wasn't able to get a good card advantage engine going, and when he decided to try and police the table, he ran out of action pretty quickly. Although I did think he did a really good job at stopping people for a time at least. But thanks for everyone who played, and catch you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link, and if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.